My name's Chris.
And I'm Christy.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. We're not standing on ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Matt Moran.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome, Matt.
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
It's fantastic to finally get to have a conversation with you. I'm going to start with the obvious question, which is what continuously brings you back to this wonderful show?
Look, it's not a hard one. You know, I've done a lot of TV. I think it's about 11 or 12 different shows that I've been involved in or hosted and judged in. Bakeoff was it came after I did Paddy the Plate with Foxtel and then asked to do it, and with Maggie, of course. And it was a bit of a no-brainer. I obviously have a big pastry history portfolio. And look, I like the idea of it being a show that is a feel-good show, to work with comedians, which you don't normally get to on cooking shows, and of course to work with the gorgeous Maggie Beer. And I have to say we had a bit of a break from season 4 to 5, and coming back and doing it, this year or for this year's, it was great. It kind of felt as though it was a little bit of a new show. We had a new EP, not saying that the last one was bad. The last one was a very good friend of mine and fantastic. But
Nicole will love hearing you say that, by the way.
Nicole and I are very close, and I love her dearly. But yeah, it was just that little bit of a break, and I think COVID it felt good, and it felt like a great series too. The contestants were very diverse. They were looking after each other, I think, a little bit more than previous seasons. They all got on famously, and it was really good fun, and I really enjoyed it. I have to say that it's a good show to work on, and good crew, and everything about it is a feel good.
Absolutely. And that's what we see as an audience. We kind of went through that break with you guys. We weren't sure if, you were coming back. Totally stoked to hear when you were. And I think, because there was that bit of time between the filming and us getting to see it. And we could see that we could just see the healing going on, like for the kind of COVID isolation, and then people thrust into the shed together. But it also felt a bit more chill this time around. So I think you've got it there, that there was a bit more love and care. Like, not that Bakeoffs, and particularly Australian Bakeoffs, ever been lack of that. There's been a lot of love and care in the series. So.
And especially since, obviously, you mentioned the gap between series, but I mean, it was, and most people know this isn't talking out of school. It was an even longer gap between the filming of the last series and this one, because there was like 10 months between the filming of the last one and going to air. So it's been even a longer time off than everything else. So
you guys have got that one right. I forgot that actually. There was a big gap before they put that one to air. So it kind of felt as though that it was a bit shorter for the audience, I think. But for us, it was nearly 3 years, I think, a bit over 3 years, maybe even longer. So yeah, it's not as though you forget how to do it. And you're only as good as your last bake, I suppose. So, you're tasting things, and you're
like,
doing.
How do I taste cake? I've forgotten how I taste cake. Maggie, what do I do? How does this operate again?
Yeah, exactly. It's look, and that's the great thing about the show. I've done other shows where, you've got scripts and you're learning stuff, and you someone in your ear, and you got to do a lot more preparation. The preparation for Great Australian Bake Off for me is to, probably not eat cake for a week before I start.
It's like that whole Adam Richards when he was doing Man versus Food, 3-day fast before he
didn't eat anything before he go to do one of their challenges. And everyone's like, you eat a lot of food. He goes, not for the week before, I don't.
Yeah.
So it's always really interesting. And again, you sort of hinted at it there. Bake Off is vastly different to every other food show on television in terms of, I think, and other shows try to push it a little bit more of this collaborative spirit, but you really do see that sort of spirit within the bakers on Bake Off, that they're not there competing against each other. And one of the things that we've enjoyed, and I'll sort of throw this to you, is that in Bake Off, it's just that somebody has to go rather than there's been an absolute calamity of a week.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a testament, though, to the quality of contestants that the show actually goes out and finds. Is that something that you find?
Yeah, look, I think it's hard for them in the first couple of weeks because of the whole time restraints. They're not used to under a clock. But that they are generally there. I think it's particularly this season more than any others, is that what I found, and Maggie has said the same thing, is that they got better as they went along, and they were learning as they went along, and they were learning off each other as they went along. There were a few standouts that you kind of thought in the first week, oh, well, they're not going to go great, but they just really sucked in that information, particularly in the technicals. And they were using a lot of the stuff that we were doing in the technicals actually into their bakes, which was really good to see. And that's the part that I found this year that I really loved, because, I am a chef, and, I've been doing it for, not as long as Maggie, but 35 years. There's nothing that I like most than, mentoring somebody and helping them along the way, and that's why Bakeoff is so good, because, you can actually criticize what they've done. You obviously criticize, and you can back it up with your own knowledge, but then, they want to know more about it. They want to know why, why it did that, and why it didn't work, and they wanted to learn by it. Then there's no arrogance with the contestants. And apart from Maggie, there's no arrogance on the judging panel either.
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Exactly.
I mean, something that we're very aware of are the things that Maggie won't particularly be happy to eat, like chili and pecans and stuff,
and bubblegum, and we're amazed every year when they appear.
And as long as they put verjuice in anything and everything, it tastes great for Maggie.
Exactly. The verjuice fields at her house, which we have christened Stately Beer Manor, are magnificent and resplendent, as you well know, Matt. And it's something that we, again, every year it pops up, this idea of, you're going to see certain things that are ingredients that are more traditional. One of the things I really enjoyed this year, though, was especially when we went with the Native Ingredients Week.
Yeah,
I thought that was absolutely spectacular and a really good stride forward. How did you think that everyone went using sort of ingredients they weren't necessarily familiar with the concept of?
Yeah, look, I love that, the whole Indigenous week, and that's something that we sort of talked about obviously beforehand, and it's you would have asked me 20 years ago, and I wasn't really using any of it, and you didn't see much of it because we sort of thought it was pretty crap and a bit of a fad. But people like Jock and certain other chefs, really showed us what it's all really about. And I think Maggie really enjoyed it too, because there's quite a few things there that she had seen or not heard of also, and she really got a real kick out of it. And I think that moving forward, those sort of weeks will be great. I think we've sort of tapped into something completely different, which is probably something that the British one hasn't done. So they might learn from us.
I'd like to see them do a foraging challenge in the British one. Like, you can only use things found on hedgerows.
This week is scrumping. So I'd love a scrumping week. That could be fantastic.
Could be good.
Yeah, it would definitely be. It's definitely something that you haven't seen. I mean, the British had the last season of British that we actually covered. We stopped after their Japanese week, which we thought was a bit ill-fated because there wasn't a lot of Japanese going on. But it was one of the things that we like about Australian with those weeks is that they're fairly robust in terms of the week.
Yeah.
There was one, which is patisserie week, which I struggled with. But
I've argued with him that patisseries need to utilize their ceilings more, and that's why the piñatas would work really well in a patisserie.
The patisserie week for me, it's one of the hardest, and I'll tell you why. Is because they generally have to make, and depends what stage we're up to in the show, because if it's week 1, 2, or 3. It's just a killer, because they're generally made to make 2 or 3 different ones, and they've got to make 20 of them or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, if you got 10 contestants and they've got to make 3 different ones, it's a freaking lot to go through and try and
The crew's not complaining though.
That's a lot of chillin' pastry.
It's a lot of pastry, and I prefer it when there's only 5 left and they've got to make 2. So there's only 10 that we have to try. And that's the hardest thing in the first couple of weeks, or the first couple of weeks, is that there's a lot to eat.
That's a lot of fondant fancies if you've got 3 of each. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind a little bit of a sweet thing every now and then, but Maggie likes that real tartness. Like if anyone hasn't worked out, just do anything passion fruit and you're laughing. Yuzu or mandarin or anything with a bit of acid in it. She loves it. So yeah, I'm the sweet one and she's the sour one, as we always say.
Nice. So with coming into Bakeoff, and gosh, I've lost my train of thought just thinking about all the sweets things I could possibly be eating right now. Coming into Bakeoff, was it did you have to kind of remember a few baking, or is baking something you do consistently? It's just part of your everyday life.
Yeah, look, it's not everyday life, but it's I've been doing it a long time, and food and cooking is knowledge, and and unfortunately, it's not something you can learn overnight. I remember when I was doing, I won't mention any names, but when I was doing MasterChef, and I think it was series 1 that I was mentoring someone, and they're one of my best mates now. We're really good friends. And I remember they said to me, how long is it going to take me to learn everything? And, and at that stage, I was like, I've been doing 25 years and I have no fucking idea.
I've just heard of these things called Davidson plums.
Yeah, look, and you know what? And that's the great thing about food and pastry and cooking. It's all about knowledge, and you're always learning. And I won't deny it. I've seen things on Bakeoff that I've learned from. If you look at my Instagram only 6 months ago or last year, whenever it was, I was around at Sean's house, who won series 1.
Yep.
And we're making like a spanakopita roll, and she was showing me, and she learned it off someone else. I can't remember the girl's name that was in her series, the Greek girl. Anyway, that's horrible of me not to remember that. But I saw Sean make one, and Sean's a mate, and I just said, wow, you've got to teach me that. So I went around and, we made a couple together. So, I'm all for still learning. I don't claim to know everything about anything and everything, but I know what tastes good.
But that's something that I think that you've already sort of hinted at with Bakeoff that makes it so good. And we've spoken to obviously contestants over the seasons, and they've talked about things like they're on the bus on the way over, and someone goes, I don't really have a recipe for a really good pastry cream or something, and someone like, this one, just quickly do this. It's that level of sharing of knowledge and information. And I think a large part of it is that, especially with Australian Bake-Off, and it's even different to British, in that because there's no prize money. And again, my favourite shout of this season was the time call where Claire yelled out, "Bakers, there is no prize money," which I absolutely adored. But I think
there was a prize. I gave Ella and her husband a degustation dinner at Aria.
Oh no! We're going to come back to Aria. We are going to talk about Aria.
So if that's up for grabs again, I'll go on Bakeoff next.
Yeah, you'll enter.
Right,
beautiful.
Right,
but in terms of one of the things I think that works so well with Australian is that they're not in it necessarily. There's no prize money. They're not competing for this check at the end of it. Even in British at the moment, it's more about giving yourself this publicity to be able to go on for a career long term. And they're very focused on that. So there's not as much of the sharing community, whereas in Australia, it's very much everyone's all in and helping each other and there to sort of, we've seen it in grand finals where, I think back to Barb's, chest falling over and, coming over and helping out and like holding the walls up and fixing all that.
Yeah, I wonder if secretly they're that confident that they know that they're going to do really well and they're just helping them because they feel sorry for them.
in some cases, maybe.
I don't remember everyone running over and helping Elle when she was, her macaroon towel was collapsing.
I think they looked at her and went, she's okay. The rest of her bakes were fine. She's fine.
Yeah. That was a tough one, actually. That was a tough one.
Was like, there's no hope.
It's like,
it's just
we could help, but with what? It's like,
so
there are
right.
some times where you just have to abandon all hope.
Yeah.
But-
Look, you know, that at that stage, you know, obviously that was a bit of a disaster for her. They tasted really good. If they didn't, she might have been in a lot more trouble. But I think she came first in the
other two,
whatever. In the other, she did really well. And normally the showstopper is the most important one. But you know, when you got someone that talented like Ella, it was pretty hard not to.
Now,
absolutely.
We'll pop back into a couple of the other things, but I do actually want to mention, because it's been popping up all over my socials, I do want to mention the Rockley pub.
Oh, yeah.
Because I did at one point ponder that we should just do this interview at the Rockley pub at some point, just for the food. So you're gathering quite the suite of.
I know we're doing this, but I'm just going to get up and my dog is barking at the door and scratching.
That's fine.
Freddie wants to come in and chase Marvin, I think.
That's right.
But the funny thing is, I've let him in now, and in about 5 minutes he'll be scratching to get out.
Yeah, want to get out. Yeah, we've got the same thing with our cats.
Yeah.
But the Rockley pub.
The Rockley pub. Yep. I've been making beautiful apple tartatans up there actually the last couple of weeks.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
That's our baking.
With local apples, like, is there a good
look? Can I be really honest with you? Honest with you. On the way out from the lagoon to the Rockley pub along the Rockley Road, there's about 10 apple trees.
No.
And
Origin week.
Origin week. I got a heap of quinces the other day from the farm. So the Rockley pub is only about 6 minutes from the farm. Yeah. And that's why I bought it, because I've been spending a bit more time at the farm. My father retired; he doesn't have an interest in it anymore, and I've been out there a bit more. And I thought, geez, if I go out and spend a bit more time at the farm, I need something to do.
I also want to up the quality of like food that I don't have to cook all the time. So what if I set up a really nice pub, hire a chef, and I fix my dinners?
Yeah, look, you know, it's funny you say that, because I'm the opposite. Like, I'm a chef that, you know, has a lot of venues, a lot of businesses, and you know, I'm not really, you know, behind the stove of Aria or, you know, any other venue anymore. You know, I'm the chef, but, you know, or I'm a chef and the restaurateur. And, you know, I love food like Maggie. You know, Maggie just lives and breathes it. And, you know, my real outlet is cooking at home. So, you know, I'm always cooking, and that's where I feel, you know, most comfortable. You know, the difference with cooking at home and cooking at work is where if I'm around chefs at work, I need lots of them to do stuff. And when I'm at home, I just need to be by myself.
Yep.
And you can see my kitchen behind. It's got a large commercial hood there, and it's got a pretty good kitchen. There's a cool room around.
By the way, it's a pretty good kitchen. It's got a cool room. Yeah, just as you do.
It's all right.
As you do.
It's all right. I've got 6 ovens, I think, in the kitchen. You know, all up.
That's almost as many as us.
5. There's five there, and I've got a pizza one out the back. Well, I've got 2 kitchens actually. I've got another kitchen out there too. Anyway. So yeah, I'm cooking it all at home all the time. I'm always cooking, and you know, and I love that that aspect of it. You know, and you know, I'm not cooking fine dining food either. You know, I'm cooking, you know, a good roast or whatever. And you know, it's not uncommon for me to spend 3-4 hours in the kitchen on a Saturday or Sunday. You know, and have friends over, and I'm just doing it because I love it. And
or as Claire pointed out when we spoke to her, you know, you're noticing that she's not eating properly, and therefore you're feeding her.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you know what? I have the girls over every year, and I cook a big thing, and we have a nice night or lunch, and Maggie gets drunk, and it's funny to
fantastic.
And you know, and that's I love. But quite often when people come over, and at the end of it, they're like, "Oh, you know, wow, Matt, you know, thank you for doing that for us." And I just look at them strangely and feel like saying, didn't do it for you.
That's for me.
I love it.
You're just here for the ride. Strap in.
You're just here to, you know, get the end of it that, you know, I've been enjoying myself doing all day.
I'm keen to know if at the pub you've got any of the locals just going, don't take this off the menu. Don't care what else you do, but if you remove,
you know, it's an interesting concept what I've done, because I bought it and then it was closed down for 8 or 9 months, and I wanted to get the DA, and I've done a deal with the builder so we can actually reopen the front part of the pub, only, you know, half of it, and we're rebuilding the back of it. Then I'll flip it and turn it around and do the other bit. So we should be finished by about November, December. That's stage one, and then we're going to put some luxury villas on it, and I'm going to build a bakery.
Nice.
And because I like baking, and a general store. So there's a couple of years work down the track, but you know, it's a sleepy little town that, you know, only has a population of about 200, and we've only been open 3 weeks, and we've been getting smashed. We've been over 1,000 people each weekend.
Wow.
And you know, I'm running food, and I'm pouring beers, and I'm clearing tables, and most of the reviews, you know, actually state that Matt Moran cleared our table.
What was Matt doing? Like he knows he doesn't have to do this, right? He can hire people.
Yeah, look, you know what? They won't let me do that in Sydney, so I'm actually really, really excited about it all, and I'm absolutely loving it. But there are you know, those few locals that, you know, don't like it because, you know, the town's got busy, and some of them are probably boycotted. I'm not sure. I've heard rumors. And
I noticed there's a lot of people in the pub.
yeah. Well, and a lot of people in the town too. And, you know, I heard one or two comments. Oh, you know, we liked how it used to be when there's only 3 people in the pub. You know, but the way that that's going to go is, you know, it's end up going to
lose the pub.
Lose the pub, and then they lose everything. But you know, it's quite funny. Some of the locals, you know, that probably didn't like me in the beginning, that, you know, wouldn't even talk to me, and now, you know, they bring me gifts and blackberries. Kind of bizarre because they realize that you're just a normal person, you know.
Yeah, and you're just there to, like, you know, again, it's helping them out as well. One of the things that you mentioned before as well was about always learning and like food inspiration. I'm going to give you a massive thank you, because one of my favorite soups that I make was based off. I went to Aria in Brisbane the first time I went to Aria. I actually went to Brisbane before I went to Sydney. And when I went to Brisbane, there was an appetizer of it was the roast potato soup in the shot glass. And the one that I make now, I do duck fat, roast potato, roast pumpkin, and roast sweet potato in duck fat. And then make that into a soup. And the whole idea came from that one, which I was willing to go around and steal everyone else's in the restaurant, because like everything was brilliant, but I was just fixated on that little soup.
Yeah, right.
So like
look, anything you cook in duck fat's going to taste good.
Oh, 100%. And that was, I'm like, I wonder if I duck fat 3 different roast vegetables and make them into a soup, how that's going to go. Right. Answer was amazing.
I'll tell you a funny story. I have Christmas with a family every year, and my best mate, who's a chef, and his wife is a pescatarian, and you know, I always do. Maggie normally gives me a goose, and I get a ham, and I do a turkey and some roast pork, and you know, I lay it all on. Yeah. And with the goose or the duck or whatever, I render down the fat and I do the potatoes. And one year, this is years ago, you know, my mate, who's pescatarian, was eating the potatoes, and I've gone, oh fuck. And she looked at me, and as she's eating, she's like, Matt, I've just got to say, these are the best potatoes I've ever eaten in my life. And I felt like saying, I get a kick under the table from the husband. Don't say a word. But she found out, and but everything tastes better in duck fat.
Yeah, look,
completely.
Look, ducks live on the water. It's close to fish. It's fine.
Vaguely, it's vaguely in the ballpark. Sort of where we'll sort of go before we finish up, obviously, is that we have to talk. We've joked around a little bit about it, but the joy of getting to go back in there and work with Maggie Beer.
Look, you know what? It's a common question I get asked all the time, and you know, what's Maggie Beer really like to work with? And I just go, oh, she's a miserable, grumpy. And I swear, when I say it, it's like someone just killed not the Santa Claus,
Jesus,
it's the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, the whole lot of them just wiped out because they're just in shock.
Well, we've talked about this before, just quickly, but at the last grand final, not this one, obviously, because no one was at this one, but the last one, which we were lucky enough to be at, you were at the time, and again, you didn't say it, but I was holding Monica's meringue, and you were stealing it, which was great, because I was marshmallow, and I was happy with that. But everyone was coming over to try to get Maggie. Yeah. Because she was treating everyone like a long-lost relative and wouldn't go over. And they're like, we're trying to shoot the finale, Maggie. She's like, in a minute, I'm just saying hello to these people.
Yeah. Look, it's I'll be brutally honest. She's would be in my top 3, highly regarded people in the world, if not the one. You know, she's the most selfless, kind, beautiful, lady that, cares about everyone else but herself. And, I just feel very blessed to work with her and very blessed that she's, such a great mate. We are great mates. We text each other all the time, and I hadn't seen her for quite some time, and we both had some tragedy in our lives that same year. And it was just so good to see her and give her a hug. She's a very, very special person, and she doesn't get that reputation for nothing, because she's just so beautiful to so many people.
Absolutely, like we call her national treasure, Maggie.
Yeah,
oh, look, when she got that what is it, OM or whatever it was?
Yeah.
It's just like about freaking time,
But what are you doing? Like, come on, there's other people. Yeah,
she's just a beautiful, beautiful person, and she. And if you saw her on set, you'd understand. She's not a spring chicken. Well, she kind of still is, but she works so bloody hard. The minute that we're not on camera, she's in a green room, she's on a computer, and she's bloody working. And because I've got a lot of businesses, I'm working too. Mel's the one that's asleep.
Yep, that tracks.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love Mel. But we've got business to run. We're doing what we're always working. And I remember there was something that someone did, and it could have been not done or whatever, or it wasn't done. And someone said, "Oh, that person's just lazy." And Maggie looks at me and she goes, "Do you know what, Maddie?" I said, "What, Maggie?" She goes, "I don't like lazy people." And I just looked at her.
There's Mel snoring in the corner.
No, it wasn't.
There's a dog. I'm looking after the dog. It's over here. I'm just patting the dog.
Oh yeah, Mel's. Yeah, we have dogs run on set all the time, and they're off, Mel. Off you go.
yours. Go do that.
She's a very, very funny lady, Mel. I love her.
Well, if you're looking for another pub to buy, the one near my dad's house, Capity.
Look, you know what? I've had a spate of them, been offered in the last 12 months. But no, I did that because I want to spend more time there, and I saw an opportunity, not just for monetary reasons, but a town that is, you can't buy milk and bread there because there isn't any shops there, and the idea of having a general store and bringing a beautiful old pub, and there's a lot of history there too. There's a generational thing for me. My great grandfather was married in Rockley in 1883, and drank at the pub after his wedding, and he went to a dance there, and we think he met his wife, and so there's a lot of history there for me too, and look, it's been a lot harder work than I kind of. It's been busy too, which is great, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I have to wean myself off it at some stage, because
you're enjoying it at the moment. So why?
I am. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm loving clearing plates and getting photos with people and not hiding out the back on the deep fry.
No, exactly. Last question I want to ask, and I think this is a really interesting one, which is there a challenge that you or Maggie have set that you would not have wanted to attempt on the other side that stands out?
It's probably a few of Maggie's I wouldn't know. Mine. Look. I don't have an issue with doing any of mine. I'm just trying to think that some of the ones that Maggie has done. That trifle thing that she did this season. It was pretty hard in the even lasers. She was, you don't see a lot of it because it's cut out. But she's nearly got the ruler out measuring everything. She's pretty tough. Look, there was something I remember, an ice cream on a hot day that they had to do once or something, and that was pretty bloody tough.
I mean, it seems like counting the layers on a chick torta,
Yeah, we shot this one a lot later than what we normally do, and there were a few very warm days. I think we were shooting in November, and that was hard. It was really hard for the contestants on a hot day to do pastry. We all know pastry is in the coldest part in the kitchen, and you've got a marble bench, and it's air conditioned, and it's really hard in a shed.
Yep,
especially one with like all the doors open and stuff,
and a springy floor. So
Yep.
It has been an absolute joy and delight to get to speak to you, Matt. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, guys. It's a show that I can talk about for hours because I love it so much, and the people I work with, I'm very blessed to be working with, and it's an easy sell for me because You know what? I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. No, I really do love it. You know.
And that totally comes across on screen. Like we can't
do
enough for what you contribute, because as fans, you know, we get to sit there and watch it, and it brings joy to our lives.
And we're always amused when people go, "Oh, Matt's scary," and we're like, "No, he's not. Watch the series. He's not even vaguely scary."
You know, and I forget that sometimes, and particularly if I don't have my glasses on, you know, I can't really see that well as I'm getting older. And, you know, I'm like, you know, and they say, oh, God, if I look at kill, but it's just me trying to look.
Just trying to see
what's going on.
So, thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, guys.
Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Christy.
And we'll catch you all later.